my name is Pastor Hal York. Welcome to Truth in the Trenches. Today we're going to be in Proverbs chapter 7, verses 21 to 23. With her many persuasions she entices him. With her flattering lips she seduces him. All at once he follows her as an ox goes to the slaughter, or as a stag is caught fast, until an arrow pierces through his liver. As a bird hastens to the snare, so he does not know that it will cost him his life. Once again, we find ourselves in chapter 7 of Proverbs dealing with a subject we've dealt with, seems like many times, but it's hard to avoid it in the first 7 chapters of Proverbs because it comes up over and over again. But it's good and wise to revisit these things and these truths because it's so much a part and parcel of the world in which we live. The word I want us to look at and highlight today is in verse 22. The ESV translates it all at once, but the New American Standard translates it with a very ominous sounding word. The word is suddenly. What a tragic but accurate picture of the man Proverbs 7 is describing, oblivious to the seductive and flattering talk of the immoral woman or the affair, the sexual immoralities. We've mentioned before that this is kind of personifying these things. And I would encourage you to read verses 12 to 20 leading up to these verses. And as you do read it, I would ask you to remember something. That Satan is a master deceiver. This young man is naive. He's unaware of what he's doing. He has no plan. He's simple. He's being led along, unaware of the dangers and temptations he's putting himself on the way up. But the tempter is very much aware. The tempter has a plan. So it's like the fish. When you're fishing, the fish have no idea there's a hook hidden in the worm, but the fisherman does. James 1:14 and 15 warns us, each person is tempted when he's lured and enticed by his own desire. Then desire, when it has conceived, gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is fully grown, brings forth death. Verse 21 says, with her many persuasions she entices him. With her flattering lips she seduces him. If you've ever hunted or trapped, there are 2 ways to do it. You can find out where the prey you are hunting lives and the paths they walk, and you hide yourself or the snare along the path. Or you find out what they like to eat, and you lure them to the bait and hide the trap somewhere around the bait. And they come innocently looking for food, just wandering down the path they've always walked down. But suddenly, they step on the snare and the trap is sprung. And they are caught. It doesn't happen gradually. It happens suddenly. A decision is made. He follows her not to unending pleasures and romance and fulfillment, but like an ox to the slaughter, until an arrow pierces his liver. He does not know that it will cost him his life. It will cost him everything he holds dear. And Proverbs describes this event as happening suddenly. It all seems so innocent. But yet he wouldn't listen to the warning signs of friends and family if they knew anything about it. He's been playing around, flirting, messaging, long chats online, meeting for coffee just to talk, playing with fire, ignoring the feelings rising up in his heart, all these things he thinks he can control. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, he finds himself on his way to her home, enticed by his own desire, blinded by his own appetite. He doesn't see what is there, what it will cost him. And suddenly the fire he's taken into his bosom has caught his clothes on fire, and the pain is excruciating. His once peaceful life is turned into misery, shame, guilt. He's hurt those he loves, and all he has left is regret. Sort of the lament of chapter 5. Oh, how I hated instruction. Why didn't I listen? Is it any wonder Solomon ends this section? Therefore, my son, listen to my words. Pay attention to the words of my mouth. Do not let your heart turn aside to her ways. Do not stray into her paths. Paul told Timothy, flee youthful lusts. Flee them. Get away with them. Don't play with them. Because the tempter has a plan. The tempter is not stupid. He's seductive. And he knows how to tempt, and he knows how to push your buttons. So do not play around with this kind of temptation. Get away from it. Run away from it as fast as you can. But let me close with some hope. If this is describing you, maybe you're still playing with the fire. Maybe you haven't done anything yet. Maybe you're just lonely. Maybe your marriage is struggling. For whatever reason, if you're in a relationship, or if you're doing something online or watching things online, or being a little too casual or with somebody, and in your heart you're wondering if it's going to lead somewhere, and you're not backing off, but you just keep pursuing it, you're in a very dangerous place. And suddenly you may find yourself in a place you never dreamt you would be in. Or maybe you've already succumbed to the temptation. But let me give you some hope. Let me give you some hope from David, who did succumb to the temptation, as we all know. And there's obviously great ramifications to this sin. David's family was a disaster. But he found forgiveness, real forgiveness. And let me read you that. Psalm 32, 1-7. Blessed is the one whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the man against whom the Lord counts no iniquity, and those whose spirit there is no deceit. For when I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was dried up as by the heat of summer. I acknowledged my sin to you. I did not cover my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the iniquity of my sin. There's forgiveness where there's repentance. So may this truth guide us and guard us today in the trenches of life, where these things happen subtly, but then suddenly we find ourselves someplace we really don't want to be. So be wise. And may this truth guide us and guard us as we seek to live our life to the glory of God and the good of others. May God bless.